Today we're going to start with Unit 5, Modern Art. What is modern art? Modern art is the name for art that was created in the recent past. There are many different kinds of modern art: a portrait, representational art, abstract art, Cubism, and realistic. When we see this kind of pictures, this kind of paintings, we describe with these pictures with these adjectives: beautiful, bold, boring, colorful, confusing, expensive, happy, interesting, natural, ugly, and weird. Okay, now before start our main unit lecture, I wanted to show you the build your vocabulary part, page 43. You have to open your books, page 43. Our first word, created. In order to understand, in order to find the best and suitable definition of these words, we have to read this sentence. Let's read. Leonardo da Vinci created many drawings of people, animals, and objects such as machines and weapons. Okay, as you see, it's a verb. How can we find the best and suitable definition of this word? Let's look at these options. A, made. B, showing things as they are in real life. C, things you can see or touch. As our word is verb, we need to find the verb. A part is a verb. B, in order to this is the definition of nouns. And look at this C part, things you can see and touch. Things, we need to hear a noun. It's a definition of noun. So we can say that A is our answer. Let's go to the next vocabulary. Our next vocabulary is realistic. Let's read the sentence. People like the Mona Lisa because it is realistic. Realistic is an adjective. Verb derivation of realistic is real. So we have to pay attention in our options to find the verb real. Let's read the options. A place from which you see something. B, showing things as they are in real life. C, things you can see or touch. So, as you see, we have only in B options, we have a word real. So, you can say that our answer is B. Next word is viewpoint. Let's read the sentence. From any viewpoint, standing in front of the painting or to the side, it looks like Mona Lisa is smiling at you. Okay, as you see, it's an adjective and it's a combination of two words, view and point. So we can say that view, as you know, it's something it's seen. It's related to the see. You have to see something. So let's look at these options. We have to find the verb see. A place from which you see something. B, show something. C, things you can see or touch. As you see, we have in two options the verb see. But how can we know that this is the best and suitable definition of our words? We have to go back to our sentence. And as you see in our sentence, in this part, standing in front of the painting or to the side, it shows us that we need to find a place, a position of something. So our answer will be A, because we have here a place from which you see something. Okay, next word is communicate. Let's read the sentence. In many of Frida Kahlo's paintings, she communicates her feelings of pain and sadness. And this underlined verb is verb. So we need to find something that defines the verb. Let's read our options. A picture of a person or thing. B, show something. C, express thoughts and feelings. As you know that when we are going to define the noun, we always start with the article a and the. And so because of that, we are not gonna say that A is our answer. So let's look at the B and C. It starts with verb, show and express. Yeah, these two options can be our answer, but how do we know that which one is correct? We have to go back again to our sentence. She communicates her feelings of pain and sadness. As you see, in our sentence talks about the feelings. We have the verb feeling. So we can easily say that C is our answer. Yes, our next verb is emerged. Let's read the sentence. Claude Monet helped develop a new style of painting called Impressionism, which emerged in France in the late 18th. Emerged is a verb, and so we have to find a verb in our options. Let's look at these options. First, A, not mixed with anything else. B, began to be known. C, the particular way something is done, created, or performed. So how do we know that which one is our best options? First, not mixed with anything else. It's a definition of adjective. Second, began to be known. Yes, it's a definition of verb. Particular way something is done, created, or performed. It's a definition of noun. So we can say that B is our answer. Yes, our last verb is category. The other painters in this category included Renoir, Degas, and Marie Cassatt. Yes, category. It's a noun. Now let's read the options. A group of people or things that are similar. B, being done in a particular way for a long time. C, the particular way something is done, created, or performed. Yes, now how do we know that our best suitable options from these three? Let's look at this A part. A group of people. It starts with article. As I stated, if it's the definition starts with article A and the, it means that it's the definition of noun. Yeah, we can just keep it. Being done in a particular way for a long time. It's also can be our answer. The particular way something is done, created, or performed. So let's look at this. Which one can be our answer? Exactly. Our answer is A group of people or things that are similar. Okay, now we're gonna start our unit lecture. So before start with listening, I want you to look at this outline sheet. We have several statements in these outline sheets. Let's read one by one and understand it. First, definition of modern art. In this one, you have to write the definition, what modern art means. In the second one, you have to write the two terms of traditional art. Next one is the reason why portraits were valued. And the next, the time when Pablo Picasso painted his mother's portrait. And next, by 19th. In this one, you have to write what happened by 19th. And again, you have to write the definition of abstract art. What is abstract art means. And again, you have to write two categories of abstract art. One of the goals of Cubism, you have to write the one purpose of Cubism. The time when Kandinsky created his first purely abstract paintings. We have here two definitions, as you see. Okay, how can we understand that the speaker is going to define something? Yeah, there are several ways to understand it. For example, the speakers often emphasize the term they will define in the following ways. By pronouncing the term slowly and carefully, by asking rhetorical questions, by spelling the term, by pausing, or by repeating the term. So, we can ask that. There is some examples for it. The speaker mostly use this kind of phrases when they are defining something. For example, what is modern art? They can start with rhetorical questions, or they can start with modern art isn't. Instead, it is. Modern art means. Modern art is. How do we define the term modern art? We say this is modern art because. Okay, now let's go back to our outline sheets. In this outline sheet, as you see, we have to write two terms and two main categories of something. Okay, it's here a traditional art, here abstract art. But how do we know that the speaker is going to list? There is also again some phrases that the speaker is going to use. The speaker often lists items. Sorry. The speaker often lists items during a lecture. For example, a speaker may list the steps in process. These are the phrases to list the steps. There are three things. The first thing is, the second thing is, finally, after, first, and there are four steps, categories. I want to repeat it again. These are the phrases that the speaker mostly uses when they are listing something. Okay, now you're gonna listen the outline sheets and answer. Okay, now firstly, close your books and listen carefully and take notes. You have to take notes for each statement while you are listening. You are gonna listen only once, so be careful. Are you ready? Let's start.
Unit 5, page 46. Watch the lecture. Part B. Listen for main ideas. Hi everybody. If you remember, in our last class we looked at a painting, an abstract painting by the Japanese artist Shiraga. Remember that? And a lot of you said, you know, I just don't get it. I just don't get abstract art. Well, don't worry about it. That's a common feeling. Today, we're going to talk some more about abstract art, so hopefully you'll understand it better. But first, we need to define modern art and understand how it's different from traditional art. Then under modern art, we'll define abstract art. And finally, we'll look at two different types of abstract art, okay? So, what is modern art? To many art historians, modern art means the new kinds of art that were created in the 20th century, in the 1900s, right? Before 1900, most artists created what we call traditional art. Traditional art is both realistic and representational. Representational means that it represents something from the real world, like a person, an object, or a scene in nature. Traditional art also looks realistic. It looks like the person or thing that it represents.
Before photography became common in the late 1800s, artists were asked to create realistic paintings of people, or portraits. These were valued because they preserved a person's image. So, as you can see, it was necessary for artists to have the skills to create realistic works of art. Now, a famous example of a traditional portrait is one by the Spanish artist Pablo Picasso. He painted his mother in 1896 when he was only 15 years old. In this painting, Picasso depicts his mother using realistic details and colors, including the color of her skin, her brown hair, and the white dress she was wearing. But even at the time Picasso painted this portrait, the world was changing very quickly. By 1900, many new inventions and new ideas were emerging, and people were looking to the future. So many artists, including Picasso, wanted to create art that was new, that was different from traditional art. So they started experimenting with new approaches to art. One of these new approaches was called abstract art. So what exactly is abstract art? Basically, abstract art is art that's not realistic. It doesn't look like anything you see in the real world. There are two main categories of abstract art. The first is representational abstract art. This art represents a person or thing you see in the real world, okay? But we say it is abstract because it doesn't look realistic. It changes the way a person or thing looks. So this is called representational abstract art. In the early 1900s, Picasso started to experiment with representational abstract art. He and other artists developed a kind of art called Cubism. Now, one goal of Cubism was to show something from different viewpoints all at one time. A portrait that Picasso painted of photographer Dora Maar in 1937 demonstrates this style. When you look at this painting called The Portrait of Dora Maar, it looks like Dora has two noses. But in fact, Picasso is presenting two views of Dora's face, one from the side and one from the front. Now, the second category of abstract art is non-representational abstract art. Unlike representational art, non-representational art doesn't represent anything you see in the real world. Instead, it expresses things you can't see, like ideas or feelings. And another name for this kind of art is pure abstraction. Okay? The first artist to create purely abstract art was a Russian painter named Vasily Kandinsky. Kandinsky created his first purely abstract paintings in 1913. In them, he used lines, shapes, and colors to show his feelings. Kandinsky loved music and was even a musician himself. In fact, he said that when he looked at a painting, he could actually hear music, and he wanted to communicate that in his paintings. One of Kandinsky's works is called Contrasting Sounds. In it you can see different lines, shapes, and colors. To Kandinsky, these represented different feelings. For example, in this painting, circles are meant to be peaceful shapes, and the contrasting colors, like black and white squares, are meant to represent different sounds, just like in a piece of music. At the time, some people reacted negatively to this art, but after Kandinsky died in 1944, his work continued to have a major influence on other abstract artists who followed him. And we'll talk about that influence and other changes in our history in our next class.
Okay. I hope you all took your notes for each statement. Now I will show you the questions. There is a question for each statement and you have to answer to these questions by using your notes. There's the first question, what is modern art? You have to write a definition of modern art. Second, write one type of traditional art. And third, why portraits were valued. 4. When did Pablo Picasso paint his mother's portrait? 5. What happened in the world by 19th? 6. What is abstract art? 7. Write 2 main categories of abstract art. 8. Write one of the goals of Cubism. And last one, when did Kandinsky create his first purely abstract art? Okay, now I will give you a time, but you have to stop the video and write your all answers. Then we will check all together our answers. Okay, if you have done your writings, let's check our answers. Your answer should be like that. For the first question, modern art means the new kind of art that were created in the 20th century, in the 19th. You can also write shortly. It's a kind of art that were created in the 20th century. It's also acceptable. Okay, let's move. Second question, write one term of traditional art. As you know, we have 2 terms, but here one is enough. You can also write realistic or representational. For this third question, why portraits were valued? Because they preserved a person's image. Yes, you can write shortly. You don't need to write the whole sentence. 4. When did Pablo Picasso paint his mother's portrait? You can just write only in 1896, or you can just write when he was only 15 years old. Both of them possible, acceptable. Okay, 5. What happened in the world by 19th? Yes, many new inventions and new ideas were emerging and people were looking to the future. You can only write the new inventions and new ideas were emerging. You don't need to write again people were looking to the future. It's also acceptable. Okay, let's move to the 6. What is abstract art? It's an art that's not realistic. It doesn't look like anything you see in the real world. Okay, we have now 2 categories of abstract art. First, representational, second, non-representational. 9. Write one of the goals of Cubism. It is to show something from different viewpoint all at one time. And last one, when did Kandinsky create his first purely abstract paintings? Here only you have to write number, in 1913. Okay guys, today we have done with our lessons. Next lesson we will continue with our Unit 5, Modern Art. See you in the next lesson.